Alright, baseball fans, welcome back to this elimination video. We're eliminating the Minnesota Twins, who last year they were 3 over 500, just missed the playoffs. They decided to roll it back with some older players from the older regime of the 60s, the team that went to the 65 series, the first team to win the American League West in 69-70. Just keep pushing it along, and they hit a wall, and it's time to pay the piper. They're 14-21 this year, and they're going to have to reconfigure their team moving forward. A lot of older guys are going to be gone. 14-21 season in 258, 428. Of course, both those are worse than the league averages. Statistically, you got to give the props to Tony Oliva and Rod Carew for carrying the squad this year, and Jim Holt, all over 300. Carew had 14 stolen bases, 2 second basemen, 5 home runs. Double A stealer, 350 card plays 340 in this case. Oliva, 291 card, but he's exclusively a DH, no outfield on his card, and he's just an 8 runner, but he did hit 355, can hit lefties fine. Jim Holt, one more year with that card. All 3 of those guys are coming back next year too, which is good news. So that's a bright spot. Heisel's got a nice card, didn't play that well. 250 with 4 homers and 10 steals. Then it gets kind of mediocre and bad after that. Harmon Killebrew, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, but a 164 average. Incredibly disappointing year for the Phil Roof 75 card, which is a 300 card with plenty of home runs on it. Just played at 163. And then Mitterwald didn't help out the catching. That's some of the worst catching stats you're going to see in the league, for whatever reason. As far as pitching goes, the bullpen's always been better than the rotation. We've had Reichert on this team for a while. He had a 180 ERA. We've had Bill Campbell, but he struggled. Tom Murphy has a nice sub-2 ERA card, but his ERA plummeted. Blyleven just had a disaster of a year, 1-8. I mean, my goodness, I doubt he was ever 1-8, 9, 10, 11 starts. 2 complete games, terrible ERA. Only Jim Codd as a starter duplicated what his card suggested with a 2.20 ERA, 2.27 here. So he was fine, but unfortunately that card will have to be moved on as well. So let's take a look right now first at who's coming back to your Twins. And it's going to be 9 hitters and 3 pitchers, which, for better or for worse, right? They have Tony Oliva. This is a great card coming back. They've got Mitterwald and Roof cards catching. That's locked. I mean, that's a lot of, you got a trade chip in here somewhere, and probably not Oliva, but Mitterwald could be traded out. He was a Twin, almost a full season. But you'd like to have Roof play a full season as catcher and just get an extra catcher. I mean, of course, that would be overusing this card. You see, this card just hit 163. My goodness. Nice card for Jim Holt. Was playing center field and first base. Now with Killebrew moving on, you think I'll just sit at first base with one more year with this card. Same with Carew. He'll stick at second base with that. Soderholm did okay with this card. Nice range at third base. Here's a problem at short. This Craig Robinson hit 241. That's a 336 defense. He really was 73, one more year with this card, just because there was nobody else available to play short in the draft, so they signed him. They love the Chico Cardenas against lefties, but he just can't play it all over here, plus he's a 4 shortstop. Hence the need for this guy, or anybody. Frankly, a switch hitting shortstop who can hit better over here would be better than this guy, but there was no such thing. Great Heisel card, sticking with that. So that's plenty of pop for this team. But when we look at the pitching staff, the entire rotation is gone. All 4 starters are up for a contract. So we're going directly to the bullpen. Intriguing Jim Crawford card as a lefty who gets righties out more than lefties. So even though statistically it doesn't grade out very well, the 450 ERA, this is a very useful card in our league. Good enough for a long reliever. Here's Bill Campbell, could be the closer. He could share those duties now. with this guy, Tom Murphy. He was actually a Brewer, but the Twins held on to him with a 74 card. Campbell also 74. These guys are kind of redundant. You know, you don't really need both of them closing, but it's good to have. If this is a luxury item, have two good, strong righty relievers in your team is pretty good. So potential exists for the Twins to come back next year if they draft well and if there are some young talent in their farm system coming up. So let's take a look at those 8 other Twins and see where their futures are. All right, baseball fans, we're going to look at the Twin players who are coming or going, beginning with the Hall of Famer Harmon Killebrew. 21 seasons in baseball for Harmon. Near the end here, not completely done, actually has almost 1,000 plate appearances still in the next 3 years. 2 with the Twins, 1 with the Royals. Do you still want to keep doing this to yourself, Minnesota? Or do you want to find some younger players? So, 72, Killebrew did have an 817 OPS, and then it's just really mediocre. If you can get a platoon out of him, that'd be great. That might be a luxury. He is certainly worthy to continue playing, as you know, he's just coming off of his age 36 season. But you know, they obviously let him go, or he did continue with a different team. So if I'm the Twins, I'm saying let's do it now. Let him go now. Find a job. Maybe he can go for maybe a contender. You know, hey, maybe Harmon Killebrew can go to the Oakland A's and platoon at first base with like Mike Hegan or Mike Epstein or somebody like that, and get a World Series ring for the Oakland A's. That'd be kind of wild. Washington, and then the Twins. So the Texas Rangers, yeah, the Texas Rangers, they already have first base covered with Hargrove. I don't know, but when we come over here, we know he continues. He's got a 73 card. This is a hard decision to make, but you really want to put him on waivers. Unless you feel like you can keep him and then work out a trade. But for now, well, I guess what the team would do in this situation, they'd make him a keeper. And if they go into this process with too many guys they want to keep, that's when they'll make a deal or put him on waivers. So right now we'll keep Killebrew because he continues his career. All right. Next player is Joe Lovitto, who wasn't really a member of the Twins. They needed to go into free agency to find an outfielder this past season. And they found this guy. He's got like a couple good years. 72 is the card we played. He's going to have a 74 card, but you can jump off the boat right now because he's not going to have a 73 card with Texas because of the plate appearances. We could double check by going to the roster page, which you can find at superds.tripod.com. Click on the 73 original set, and there it is. Lovitto, does he have a card in the 73 season? Probably was sent down back to the minors. No, so you can retire him. Probably a strong recommendation to retire that guy. Okay. Next up, Ron Woods. This is kind of a fun player who had some useful splits defensively and in platoons. We've had him on several different teams. The Expos, one of them. We've used this 71 card where he had 288. That was with the Expos. Then we used this card again as a 258 card, still the 746 OPS, and good defense too. The 73 card will exist as at least a platoon or a defensive replacement or a platoon, probably not an everyday player, at least waiver worthy. So, let's put them on waivers for now, because this team's got to get better. I mean, the White Sox and Royals are at the top of this division. You saw the Brewers get better, and you know the Brewers are going to bring in a lot of talent in the 70s. So that was the 3 hitters. The good news is they already have the 9 hitters they want. The problem with Killebrew is fit, because you have DH. You like to just make Oliva the full-time DH. Jim Holt, the full-time first baseman. You've got 2 catchers. Killebrew can't play third anymore. He really should move on to create a roster spot. And Levito, you've got to be able to think a better outfielder is available offensively to replace him as well. I could see them holding on to Ron Woods as a defensive platoon. Say you find like a 40-16 outfielder who could crush the ball, then Woods can platoon with him, be the defensive replacement. So that's the opportunistic side of how to do that. But let's go to the pitching. First, it's all 4 starters and Pete Reichert. So let's start with Blyleven. We know he's a keeper. I can just write him in right here, right now. But let's take a look right now and see what year it could be for yet another Hall of Famer. In the off-season review of the Twins. 22 years. Always campaigning for this guy to get in the Hall of Fame, and then he got in and I missed it. I'm like, they voted him last year. I was always complaining about, hey, I should have been in the Hall of Fame, and then I missed it when he went. All right. So he's got a 73 20-game winner card with a 111 whip, 114, 109. Plenty of choices here in those. Yeah. And he doesn't move away from the Twins until 76. So you gotta max his potential with the Twins out. He's only with the Rangers for 2 years anyway. Potentially at least, you could skip the Texas experiment altogether and just get him over to Pittsburgh, where he helps them win a World Series. Then move on to Cleveland. So, and then he eventually returns back to the Twins anyway. So he's a keeper, plenty of options. Always good to have a player with options. Next up, Jim Cott. Oh boy. Kitty Cott in the Hall of Fame? Great question. Yes. Oh, I didn't realize they got Oliva and Carew and Killebrew and Blyleven and Cott. My goodness, folks, these Twinkies. Ton of Hall of Famers for a team that's doesn't have a lot of hardware to show for that. That's a shame. Oddly enough, they get World Series titles with Tom Kelly and mediocre Twins teams of the late 80s, early 90s. That's so bizarre. Anyway, here is the great year we just had from Mr. Cott, a 2.06 ERA. If you look around him, you see, look at the innings pitched, and you see maybe because he was hurt, it limited him from continuing on, wearing down, and seeing that ERA start to balloon. So maybe that was good that he only had 113 innings. In the next seasons, the best one is this one with the White Sox. 21-game winner with a 1.17 ERA. Now, you can hold on to them, or you could trade them to the White Sox or the Phillies, you know, because the 76-year will be up as well, or some other team. But yeah, plenty of options for a Hall of Famer, Jim Cott. Got to be a keeper for a team that needs help. Next up is Dave Goltz. That's a keeper. And you're seeing we're getting to the end of the rope with end of the rope with Killebrew here, as we already have maxing out with 4. Goltz. He's just getting started on a nice little run here in Minnesota. We'll win 20 games. Which years do we have? 73, he struggles. 74, he doesn't pitch on 3 days rest, but he's good. 75 and 76, he's pitching on 3 days rest. It'll be one of those years. You know, he's not incredible statistically, but he's a solid innings eater, and he's going to be a Twin. Can't get to the 77 card yet. That's okay. It'll come the year after next. So we'll get Goltz as a keeper. Next up is Bill Parsons. Now, he could go because he's not really associated with the Twins. He was signed off of waivers. One of the best, what looked at the time, one of the best waiver pickups was Bill Parsons, because you could pitch in 3 days rest. So a short little career. But this card we just played was up for grabs on waivers. He was the only pitcher on the waiver wire who threw 200 innings. And the Twins desperately needed a guy to pitch on 3 days rest, because when you saw Jim Cott's card, you saw that he couldn't do it. He only pitched 113 innings. So here is the harsh reality now that it's over for Bill. This card exists, by the way, for the Brewers in 73, so he does get waivers with it if you need a waiver spot. We'll look here and see that he is an extra player from Milwaukee, Parsons B, right there. So if you don't want to clog up the retirement pool, you can just put a very poor waiver player here, a guy who's going to be on the waiver wire and not get picked up by anybody, but let's put him on waivers because Strat-O-Matic printed a card. And lastly, Pete Reichert. Is he over with? This is going to be close. If that's the case, that's a good way to go out. 62 to 74, Pete Reichert. So he was a Senator in 66. He got a World Series ring in 70 for Baltimore. Played in the 69 World Series for them as well. Went to the Dodgers, the Cardinals, and Phillies. So this was the card we just played with a 1.15 ERA, excuse me, a 2.25 ERA and 1.15 WHIP. Hopefully this Dodger card exists in 73, which I think would be a keeper. Any lefty reliever who's that good. And we don't even know if the 70, we can check and see if a 74 extra player total card exists for a combination of innings within two clubs. But first things first, let's make sure he's got a 73 card with the Dodgers. This would be really disappointing if they didn't print this. Got to make this card, Strat-O-Matic. Oh boy, he's not listed there for the Dodgers. Extra players. Oh, it's there. Whew. All right, so that card exists. While we're here, let's take a look at the 74. I'm just kind of curious if they made a card for this combination of stats for Pete. St. Louis, Philadelphia, or a nameless card. Let's go check it out in the 74. So we can go to the National League and we go to St. Louis and Philadelphia. Reichert's not there. Or there. St. Louis, Reichert's not there. Or there. And the last hope would be their nameless cards at the bottom. Alex Johnson, Jim Northrup, Bob Oliver, Frank Robinson. So he's only got one more card left, but it's going to be a good one. It's going to be this card right here with the Dodgers. 51 innings, 1.2 whip, lefty, always valuable. So Reichert, you got to keep that. So that is the card that will temporarily put the Twins on the phone at 5 keepers, 2 waivers, and 1 retirement. So the goal is to move Killebrew to a team in the offseason looking for a DH against left-handed pitching, so that they can keep these 4 guys. Bring back 3/4 of their starting rotation and a very good lefty to sandwich between Campbell and Murphy. Actually, this looks pretty good for the Twins to get back to 500 at least, or where they were a couple years ago, and just hope guys like Phil Roof and Soderholm and Mitterwald don't go into huge slumps anymore. And the guy who replaces Killebrew is a young rookie. Unfortunately, that guy who replaces Killebrew could have been Bobby Darwin or Steve Bry, but they let those guys get away. They're already gone on other franchises already, so they got to find the next guy. Probably Dan Ford will probably take the Killebrew spot. Maybe there's Lyman Bostock or a Bombo Rivera, somebody like that. They got to find some homegrown talent in the outfield, because these 3 guys are just so-so at best. That's it today. Looking at the offseason, eliminating the Minnesota Twins. Hope you're enjoying the analysis. We'll see you next time.